Okay, hey, we're back. Take three. Okay, that just had an executive session. We're returning. Um, I'm going to bring us to item B, which is Resolution 2018-31, authorizing the Board of Trustees for Concord Township to enter into an AIA document B101-2017, standard form agreement between owner and architect with the architectural firm of LeMay Erickson Wilcox Architects, P.C.
I move that we adopt Resolution 2018-31 as you stated.
I second that.
Discussion.
I have no discussion in 9
None.
minutes. We have an agreement. We have an agreement that's been made changes as legal counsel has requested. And then I think the most important thing is just to keep this agreement close by, as I just stated, and walk ourselves through it. I was just telling our administrator, you and I have sat there and stared at Painesville Township's entity for some time yesterday, and so we you know, and both of us, each time we drove by, said, that really makes me nervous, that really makes me nervous. So I think it's appropriate that we enter into this contract and with the caution of not screwing it up.
That's just exactly, get right to that.
Right.
I agree. I just, for a point of clarification for everyone at home, is just to remind you that this is a process that we started about 5 years ago, looking at doing an analysis of our current facilities. We then contracted the Ohio Fire Chiefs, which prepared a report on our existing facilities and fire and safety infrastructure, location of said facilities. That has been reviewed along with our new chief, doing a lot of homework on station design. We then went into an RFQ and an RFP process. We interviewed, there was a committee, they reviewed and sort of sifted through what we got. We then interviewed, the trustees did extensively, sort of 3 finalists, went through projects that they've done, their collaborative approach with the community, and along with legal counsel, has gone through this contract with a fine-tooth comb. There have been a number of modifications based on his recommendation. So this is a very careful, methodic process that we're going through that started a number of years ago. The next step, as we look to build new fire facilities within the township, this is that next step. And to Paul's point about not screwing it up, that's why we are taking a very slow and deliberative process over a number of years, and we will continue to do so.
We have facilities here that are very modest, to say it nicely.
And aging.
You know, they're aging. They're very modest. They, you know, and nowadays with the information that we know and the equipment that we have, and we have different equipment than was made, you know, 50 years ago.
Right.
Well, Station 1 was 50 years ago, 1968.
60 in the mid-60s, yes.
Yeah, 64 it was built.
So, you know, that's 60 years ago. Because time's going by fast. But I think one of the biggest things that and we have consistently not done this, but you know, public officials make major mistakes when they start building infrastructures, as such as buildings. And so.
Well, the standards have changed so much over the years.
Absolutely. And so I approach that, you know, extremely cautiously. And we have been very slow at moving that because we've been very cautious at moving that. And I have seen over the years where there's mistakes have been made. I don't want to make any of those mistakes. So we'll continue to do this very cautiously.
Right.
So that, you know, if and when that facility is built, it's done right, you know, and prudent.
Well, and the important thing is too that the community gets full use for another 60 years out of those facilities. That
Right.
they serve not just the immediate, but the eventual. So there's a lot of that long-term planning and thought process that goes into the building and why to design it in a certain way, and hopefully that it will allow it to be serviceable for 60-plus years, the way our existing, although modest, facilities have gotten us to this point.
Right.
So, anyway, I thought it was important to, continue to, sort of remind folks of what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. So, I have a motion and a second on Resolution 2018-31. I'm going to go ahead and just call this as a roll call, if we could, Amy.
Okay, Mr. Malczewski?
Yes.
Mrs. Luda?
Yes,
Mr. Galloway?
Yes. Okay.
Galloway, I'm gonna hand you this, but you're gonna have to sign not only the resolution, but the contract itself.
Okay. I will do that.
And then I would make a motion to adopt Resolution 2018-32, authorizing the execution of a Fourth Amendment to the Concord Township City of Painesville Joint Economic Development District Contract, non-protunct amendment, Second Amendment, and Third Amendment respectively, to include additional properties within the Joint Economic Development District and declaring an emergency.
I'll second that.
Okay, I will pause all this signing. You can sign those two resolutions.
Okay.
Then hand it back so I can fill out the rest. Okay, this is a motion and a second as it relates to our public hearing from earlier, bringing in property into the Joint Economic Development District. I will point out that the city of Painesville took action on this on Monday night, approving their legislation at that time. Under the contract, both entities have to sign off on that. I would like to take just a moment of clarification on a couple things that were said earlier during the public hearing, just from my own standpoint of referring to some of the comments that were referred to had something to do with my testimony from Monday before the city of Painesville. My comments as it related to the current ownership of the property was simply clarifying for the city council that the current owner is in fact the successor to the entity and individual who put in the infrastructure, same family. And the current owner is also the successor to the ownership of Swage Lock. And so that was the statement that I made, was that the infrastructure having been put in, not having the exact date, but we believe in the late 1980s. As it relates to maintenance, Frank and his guys do perform maintenance on the road. There has been Durapatching in the past and other minor things. The road was very, very well built to standards that do exceed the county's standards.
We don't have a standard county.
Well, that's right. Well, okay. Supposedly there's one. That is correct, but it has been a public road for all those years. It is plowed and maintained by the township. My comments were simply, again, clarification to the city council that the road has been a public road for a great long time, and that based on the current condition, especially Discovery, that there will probably have to be some additional maintenance in the near future as it relates to Concord Township and dollars expended there. My comments in no way reflected anything as it relates to property taxes or otherwise, just point of clarification for City Council that Concord maintains said roads. There was also a statement made that the doctor's office at Lake Hospital at Tri-Point is not in the JED. That is incorrect. The physician's pavilion is in the Joint Economic Development District, and those physicians and employees in that building do pay into the payroll tax as part of that. So just some points of clarification that I wanted to provide.
Yeah, the only other thing I would add is that the property in question here, once these properties are inside the JED, if need be, they can be taken outside of the JED as well. But they can't do that until they come inside the JED, and if for some reason there's an issue and we would like to exclude them, they can be excluded at a later date. And so at this time, I don't believe that there is no detriment to any of the properties entering inside the JED.
I would also just highlight that what I also mentioned on Monday, that the JED board recently at their last meeting passed an incentive package that had been worked on by a subcommittee along with staff on a whole series of new incentive packages and programs that we did not previously have available. So to help with the corporate locating and things of that nature, that would hopefully be an assistance to our ability to attract businesses. But in order to qualify for those, the property has to be in the JED.
That's right.
As you know, as a township, we're very limited in what we can do with what we can do, but the JED has its own statutory powers, and that's why they decided to enact that as sort of a proper economic development tool. We look forward to being able to use that to attract quality businesses and continue to do so within that property and the entire corridor, wherever the JED may expand to. We have other properties that are coming in tonight besides those that were here to testify this evening that are looking forward to their membership and have approached us, as have previous, as we continue to. This is noted the Fourth Amendment to this contract, and so I think it's been a very successful arrangement for both communities and the businesses that have been in the JED to this point. So, anything else?
No, that's fine. Thank
Michael,
you.
anything that you would like to state or address or anything at this time?
No, thank you.
Anything else?
No.
No? I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call on this as well.
Mrs. Luda?
Yes,
Mr. Melchewski?
Yes.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes. Okay. Next up, we have future meetings and announcements. Mrs. Dawson, you want to handle that?
Thank you, Mr. Galloway. On Monday, the 11th of November, will be closed in observance of Veterans Day. On Wednesday, November 14th at 7 p.m. will be, actually, there will not be a BZA meeting in Town Hall. I believe that was canceled.
That's correct.
Wednesday, the 21st of November, canceled office hours and trustee meeting due to the Thanksgiving holiday. Thursday and Friday, November 22nd and 23rd, the township will be, offices will be closed in observance of Thanksgiving. Monday, November 26th at 6 a.m. will be leaf pickup the week of, starting, for Concord Township residents at their homes. Friday, November 30th at the gazebo at 7 p.m., Christmas tree lighting at Town Hall. Deb talked about earlier. Tuesday, December 4th at 12 p.m., there'll be a staff meeting in Town Hall. At 7 p.m. that evening, zoning commission meeting here at Town Hall. On Wednesday, December 5th at 6 p.m. will be trustee office hours in the conference room. At 7 p.m. will be the public hearing that you set earlier for Mr. Summers Real Estate Group LLC. And immediately following will be the trustee meeting here in Town Hall.
That's correct. It'll either be either 7:30 or immediately following. Thank you so much for that. And I would like to point out that we have two of our local high schools that represent Concord Township, both Mentor and Riverside are going to be in high school playoff games on Friday. Mentor is taking on Canton McKinley at Brunswick Stadium, and Riverside is taking on Maple Heights at Mayfield Stadium. So we want to wish both of those squads all the best luck. We're rooting for you. Get some wins on Friday so we can brings home some championships, Concord Township. Does anybody have anything else?
No.
All right, go Cardinals, go Beavers. Let's do it. All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Connie.